Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Air Software. Today I'm going to do a disassembly for repairs and maintenance on this Delta Armory's Grand Power STRIBOG SP10A3 SMG. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today, please do consider liking, commenting, subscribing, because those interactions help it get seen by the YouTube algorithms. That helps the channel to grow. The link down below will take you to all of my socials, including my Discord. Make sure you stop by and say hello. And the join button down below on YouTube will take you to channel memberships. 99p a month to be a member of the channel, and you get lots of videos of me swearing. This video alone has about 4 or 5 outtakes in a video because I just could not get the name right. So, moving on, you saw my unboxing, hopefully. If not, it is linked down below. And I absolutely adore this. I am literally clutching at straws to try and come up with issues of it and around it. And I'm struggling. I'm really clutching at straws. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a complete breakdown of it to show you how to get down into the gearbox and everything, just in case you've got repairs or maintenance to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a start with the muzzle brake. Obviously, is just negative 40mm thread, and we'll just roll right off if you need to do that. Now, my plan is to not necessarily take all of the inner barrel out, probably. We're more interested in the gearbox and things. So first thing we are going to do is we're going to take this back plate off. So I'm using a Torx 10. It is technically a hex head or an Allen key bolt, but I find that Torx for me always grips better. So that's just out the way. The screw does come loose. As with anything like this, always make sure you keep the stuff together in the right place. Now, I'm guessing and looking at, pretty sure this pin's going to come out, and I'm hoping this assembly will just slide back out. That might be famous last words. Let's find out. So I'm going to tap this front pin out. So that pin came out that way. So it's got some little serrated teeth that just sit inside of there. Put that to one side, and I was right. That is beautifully easy to separate. Oh, look at that nice gold nozzle there. We're going to oogle the nozzle later. There is our teeny tiny little barrel. Look how teeny tiny it is. Now, there is no hop set, I believe, at the minute. This is after all the shooting tests and everything. If I apply full hop, the barrel is very, very clean. That, as much as you can tell, is full hop adjustment, and it barely needed anything, and it was over hopping 2.5 BBs, and they were going for absolute miles. Now, it does appear that if I release those 2 screws, that barrel assembly should, in theory, come out, giving me access to all of the other systems internally. But I'm not overly fussed about that, but it looks like it's still, oh, fine. I can already tell you're doing the disapproving look. I can't even see your faces, and I know you're like, God, Pheas, letting us down, not doing that. Fine. God. Can't get it back together though. Right, that is moving. Oh, that's going backwards out that way. And there is a little spring there that's disconnected from somewhere, and already I am living in regret. So there is a little hook there. There's a tiny little hook on the inside. Will this come out? Is that a retaining clip there? See what you've done to me now, folks. What is that? Now, it doesn't look like I can easily get that out. So that's been retained by this plate. And to get this plate out, it's been retained on something else somewhere. It's been retained there. So it's been retained against this lip here. So I'm hoping just a gentle, makes me cringe and hurt. It's at least out of the way for now, and then that assembly won't come out because this is in the way, so we need a Phillips head on that. going to take that clip and that screw out of there. There goes the retainer. Now hopefully I was right, that comes out. Again, still not all the way. That needs to come out there like that. That should now, hooray, there it is. And then there is our charging handle assembly there. It does look like, in theory, you possibly, somebody will have to comment and check, you may be able to disconnect that and pull it through and ambidextrous it, possibly, because it has got an ambidextrous selector. Can't see anything, but basically that assembly then, it just needs this charging handle to come out, which the spring's coming off. I don't know if it's screwed together. I can't see clearly down into there if it's actually threaded in there. I'll do an update at some point if I can figure out that choice. So we'll reassemble that because I can't see a surefire way that that is correct. What I'm also going to do is we need to put this assembly back in, and I'm hoping I can do it at the same time. So the idea is that this little spring here that comes out the side here should hook specifically as it drops everything. Wrong way around, should hook there like that. So that's how it should sit, and it hooks. Obviously it's springing back against this barrel assembly. Nice simple design, to be honest. Quite like, I am a big fan of keep it simple stupid. There are so many things that works for in life as well. So I'm just going to bend that in slightly whilst I was about to say, well, I'm working the shaft down. That sounds so wrong. Now, it's making my life a little bit easier, I'm not going to lie, the fact that I have hooked that spring up, that I don't have to try and force that in later. There we go. So that's back in place. Now what I can do, a little bit difficult, the only real hard bit here is I'm going to have to retain the outer barrel. I'm going to put into position, and I'm going to put those two screws in, because what I can do then is I can use the pressure from those holding the outer barrel in place to pull back the charging handle. There we go. It wasn't all the way forward. There we go. Right, so get that in line. So the two screw holes should obviously appear there. That's one in. Now what I can do is I can pull that back, and I can now bring this retainer clip back in. So just a little U-shaped retainer clip. There's almost like an indentation that shows how it should roughly sit. I'm going to bring the screw back in. And then I can release that. I can put this on. And then we can tighten that down. Constant interruptions from family getting in the way. That sounds awful, doesn't it? Right, so we can slide our inner barrel back in. We'll just wiggle that about, and it should be nice and springy because that spring's on the front of there, and that's what popped the gearbox and lower assembly out there. And we should see it coming towards the end. I put the rubber bung back on, and our charging handle obviously is working. Now at the minute it's not locking open because the locking mechanism is down there on the lower. So let's have a look at the lower and how that works. That needs to come out before we might actually not need to take that out. That looks pretty good. So let's have a look then. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off the base plate. So I just pulled on the little black screw and it popped open. So we'll get our wiring off. So the red wire is at the back, the black wire is at the front. Get those out of the way. You made a little flat head just to pop that off, and then we'll lift our motor. So there is our stock Delta Armory motor. So the wires come in, so the black comes in at the front and stays at the front. The red comes in at the back and stays at the back. And we've got 4 retaining Phillips heads down in there. So I'll get my screwdriver in. One, and it's dropped down in there. Two. There's number 3. And last but not least, there we go. No, missed. Oh, there's some good solid screws. The fact that there's 4 in as well is good. You know, normally you just get 2 in an AR sort of based setup. With this, there's obviously 4 in there just to help strengthen things up and keep it there. Now, I didn't expect that would come out because we've still got the trigger pin to push out, which I'm guessing that is going to go this way. Just going to tap that out of camera so I've got a bit of angle. Check the other way. So there's the other pistol grip screw. So the trigger pin came out to the right there. There's some little teeth on that pin, so I'm just going to put that down there. I'm pretty sure the selectors need to come off as well. Oh, wow, no, I am completely wrong. Wow, that's a wow. Well, I mean, I could have. It's a good job I didn't pull much harder. Okay, so we've not had to take this assembly out, which is really useful, and it helps show how that this is the ejection port lock open. This is how it locks open. It catches on there, and when we push that, the spring pulls the plate back forward. So our selector then is 2 gears. We can see there 2 gears, and what we've got is similar to the VFC style. We've got 2 little cogs. I'm not going to lie, that really makes me happy because that is a good improvement on that selector style system. That is how it goes in. It drops in on safe, and what we've got there is we've got just a little sort of pushed out notch there that engages into the little gap there. So it's not quite a standard selector as such. It's obviously, but it is mostly an M41, and it's just obviously keeping it small, and those gears just engage with that to pull the other selector around. So make sure it goes in on the firing mode that's in there. That's really good. So we can see there the little micro switch there to detect the position of the selector. So safe is none of them pressed. Then you've got semi, then you've got auto, obviously all part of that system. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to pry these apart. So I'm just going to get a little flat head in under there, where I can get a little bit of a gap. There we go. A little bit of a gap. Now you will notice there's like a little bit of a D shape to the hole in the middle of that little cog there. That means that the pin is D-shaped underneath just to keep them a set orientation. So I'll put that out of the way. And then we are ready to take the back cover off. The spring guide. So this is essential to keep in because this spring guide needs keeping straight to help keep things consistent and solid. So this, please don't forget to put it back on, because straight away you can see the spring guide has gone off centered and it's pointing down. That's going to cause issues if we shoot it like that. Might even cause a jam. So that's a nice solid screw. Next, I probably do this with my finger. Yeah, just a 1/4 twist, and out comes our very chunky, beefy spring guide with a bearing plate on the bottom there, like a bearing. So as the spring compressors, they tend to want to twist as they're going under compression. That allows them to twist, and it helps keep the health of the spring good. We've got a vented cylinder. We've got lovely metal, quite large metal bushings in there. We've got the Delta Armory branding on it. So we've now got a set of Phillips head screws to get rid of to get into this. So make sure you keep the screws together, and I might just jump cut or speed this section up. In fact, before I do either of those things, just let me know if you prefer me to just cut to all the screws gone, or if you'd rather see the super speed up version. Actually had an interruption there. So just before I pop the shell open, we've got radius there at the front, nice radiusing, so that the cylinder doesn't bang square up against the gearbox case, which helps obviously with, like, keeping it healthy, because version 2 is often a trouble prone to snapping across here. That's why this sort of enhanced plate is here to help reinforce that and keep it in. We've got venting because it's such a tiny little barrel. We've got a vented cylinder because you don't want all of that compression. It causes over voluming, it causes all sorts of issues and things like that. Trigger's still looking nice. So now I've got no spring in, all the screws are out. All the screws across the top were one shorter size, all the screws across the bottom were the same longer size. So, you know, look after them. And what I'm going to do is, as that's popping, I can just see that the sector gear stayed in there. Pop that a little bit. I'm going to roll that up and off. And there is the internals of our gearbox. So I can see them, really nice looking cylinder head, really nice looking nozzle, plastic tappet plate. We've got, it looks like, pretty sure that's metal, full metal rack piston. I'll double check that in a minute. There is a good amount of grease in there. Even the trigger's got DA on it. So we've got our MOSFET underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift out the compression assembly. So I'm just going to pull this little spring off this post while lifting all of this up. So what we've got here then is we've got our air nozzle, which is what basically moves backwards and forwards to let BBs up out the top of the mag. And then basically the piston is pulled back on a spring set and then released forward to compress the air out of the front to fire our BBs. So what I'm going to look for is the quality of compression. So I'm going to put my finger over the end, and as soon as I get past the ventings, that's a really nice, let's just check. That is a full metal rack piston. That's good, nice and strong and durable. So it's a polymer body, metal rack in there. We've got a nice big chunky O-ring. So I'm looking for that. I should only be able to push the piston in so far before the air pressure. Yeah. I'm literally barely getting like more than like a couple of mil past the vent, and it's all locked up. That's really good. The nozzle is an O-ring type, which is good, which helps seal air in. So I'm not expecting quite as good an air seal with that nozzle on, but I'm still expecting, there is a tiny bit of leak, but like almost nothing. That's really good. So the better air seal we've got in this system, the better the FPS is going to come from the spring and the piston firing the BBs out. So I'm really happy that that compression system is really good. And then as long as the seal is good between the air nozzle and the hot rubber, you're going to get really good FPS and consistent FPS. So next we'll lift out, we've got our sector gear that is very well made. It's got a delayer chip on there just to help with the tappet plate, making sure that engagement and feeding is proper. So I'm just going to move that in. That's at least 2 shims on the bottom half of that sector gear, which means they've made a good attempt at shimming. And I can confirm from shooting it sounds really nice. It sounds smooth. Lift that up, that trigger up, and that spring. I'll show you how to put that back in a second. There is the rest of our system. There's no micro switches inside of here. We've got an optical, by the looks of it, detection of the gear spinning. And I'm guessing either a magnetic, it is a magnetic detection of the trigger firing. So there'll be some sensors across here to detect it. And the gear set looks really nice and solid. I'm pretty sure I've read that it's CNC steel, maybe. I might be wrong on that. All in all, really well made. Very sort of, when I say generic, I don't mean generic in a bad way. It's like highly sort of generic in a good way, compliant with all sorts of other you know, maintenance repair parts and things like that. So, you know, if it's version 2 compatible, this is a version 2 gearbox. If it's a version 2 part that you need, you're golden. So anti-reversal latch then, I'll discuss this through. I'm getting grease everywhere at the minute. So we've got a little tiny spring on that. Put that down so I can show you. And it hooks around, and what we want is it to go on the shorter part of the shaft, and it's pushing against the gearbox case, and it's pushing in the way of this gear, so that our gearbox can't unwind whilst after shooting, because if it unwinds, it basically makes an awful noise and it sounds a bit weird and things, and you get this kind of like, I'm not even going to make the noise. Before I drop the actual gear in that's for, I'm going to drop the sector gear back in, and what I'm going to do is just make sure that those shims stay. So these little metal discs here are called shims. They position the gears against each other, so that there shouldn't be side-to-side movement, but they should still be free moving within the gearbox. That's really important. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the trigger back in. So to do the trigger, we've got this little spring. It's got a long arm and a short arm with a hook. The short arm with the hook goes into, when my hands are not covered in grease, into the trigger like that. And then we're going to drop that into this hole here. This little post goes into there. And what we do is, oh my God, it's even got an adjustable trigger. That is incredible. So this arm is going to sit on top of this metal plate here. So I'm just going to pull up on it with my thumb. Oh, it's dropped out of that. And there we go. Sometimes those triggers can be an absolute nightmare. Next, we're going to reinstall the compression assembly. So I've got the tappet plate spring is on there. I've got the nozzle is on the end of that pipe coming out of the cylinder head, and the piston teeth are more or less down, sort of facing towards the tappet plate. And we're going to hook that spring on the front post there. In fact, you know what? I've just realised what's really helpful is if I turn all of the sector gear teeth out of the way. So all the teeth that are on the top that should pull the piston back are out of our way, so that they don't make any issues. I've hooked this spring on. There we go. There we go. So I hooked that spring on this little post. I pulled this assembly back against that little spring, and it's a bit of a pain. There's one of these holes on this side, there's one on the underside, and it will just naturally sit down onto that post underneath. And this tappet plate will jump about a little bit in and out of this sort of running track here that it's sat in. And if I let go, you can see it's jumping up and out. It's a bit annoying. The piston then, I'm just making sure that these teeth here, there's teeth on the other side, sit either side of this little ridge in the middle here. And I'm just looking that that's nice and springy. We're all good. And the last thing I'm going to do is just run my finger along there. So on the other side of this, and I'm making sure that it's sat flush with the gearbox. If it's not flush with the gearbox shell, then it's not sat right, and it might not be on there, it might be moved about or something. So make sure it goes flush. The last thing then before we can close it, other than the tappet plate being an idiot, is we're going to drop this gear back in. So I'm just going to pull this anti-reversal latch open, and you can get little tools to help with this. I've now compressed it with my thumb at my own pain and peril. It will spring a little bit, the wire's coming out, and I'm just going to drop that into position, and the anti-reversal latch is already trying to jump out of its positioning. Now I'm going to throw the right hand side back on as quick as I can, because I want this seal back up. So I'm going to kind of roll it on from the front. So I'm just going to drop it on at the front. I'm going to gently bring it back, and something's moved already. What I might need to do is like that. I'm just going to, no. Right, that's in. Now at this point, what I need to do is bring in a little screwdriver, and I'm just going to pull the shafts of these gears into line to get them into where they need to go. Now, I'm not going to lie, there's not much of a trick to this. It's just hard work and manoeuvring. And I think a wire is out of place. Or maybe it's the anti-reversal latch. It is a wire. So I'm going to ping that open. There, look. It's rascally. Okay. Let's try that again. What I am doing is I'm trying to keep a little bit of pressure on the air nozzle. That just helps to keep that tappet plate in a better position. And then we're nearly there, we're not quite got flush. I need to pop that back into position, and some reason, it's not why is, oh, there we go. It's clicked into position, and if I rotate that, I can hear the click of the anti-reversal latch clicking into the next two, so I shouldn't be able to pull it back that way. It's locked. That click says it's in position. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop filming 2 seconds. I'm going to put all these screws back in and then rejoin you in a second. In fact, decided actually what I'd do is take this chance to give my channel members a big shout out, those that are paying 99p a month. Their names are all appearing on the screen right now. Thank you to these guys that keep paying. Some of these guys I've literally been paying into it since I started it, and I didn't really want to start it because it kind of feels a bit like begging for money for me, but a lot of people's like, no, please, 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 we want to do it. And like, guys, okay, if that's what you want, thank you very much. I appreciate it massively. So thank you to these guys that are on the screens now, names on screen now, for supporting the channel. You literally make me happy every month that you guys are willing to do that and stuff. And if you are on the Discord and you've not made yourself aware to me that you are a channel member, let me know, because you've got your own little private chat area in my Discord, and I'll let you have a little bit more influence over what I do, what I get, you know, that kind of stuff. So if you want some input on that, then let me know. Not sure why I went all sultry then. Okay, so the gearbox is back together then. That was nice and easy. I'm not going to lie, lots of design choices here are very, very good and very clever. I'm really liking how easy this has been in general. So next we're going to bring our spring. This is a non-linear spring. So if you can see, we've got a tight group of coils at the end there. We've got a tighter coil in the end, in the middle. So this group at the end is where our spring guide goes, and then this stays in the middle, and we're going to put it in that way, and it is designed to sit on your spring guide like that. We're just going to wiggle that into place, and then I've got a quarter twist, and it should sit pretty much back flush against the gearbox. And then we're going to bring in, and I'll locate where there, attach to the motor. We're going to bring in this screw. Now don't forget, this screw, it should go in easily. If you're having to force it from the outset, it's going in, it's like you doing the threads in. So as I tighten this up now, the spring guide, you can see there, it's gone back to central, and that's where we want it. That's how we need it. Perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back in this selector cam. So I'm just going to drop that through from that side, comes out this side. We've got our teeth. We want the teeth on the top. We're matching the little D-shaped hole together. I'm just going to finger press those together, and it should sit like that. The teeth are just above the shell. Hopefully you can see that. I keep forgetting my camera doesn't always autofocus very quickly. I do apologise for that. And then we're literally ready to drop it back into the lower. I'm not going to lie to you, that has been so famously easy. That has made me really happy. Really, really happy. So next thing we do is we're going to delicately and annoyingly feed the red and black wires down through the holes. So just to show you which ones, hopefully you've taken note when you're disassembling, but this hole here, middle one on the right hand side, is where the red wire is going to go, and this one at the front, middle one at the front, is where the black wire is going to go. The four little ones are where the screws come up, and the big middle one is where our motor comes into the gearbox. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to manipulate that a little bit. That's one. And this is where it gets a pain. This is really difficult, trying to do it floating in the air for camera, and go on with red wire again there. That's one in. Woo. And here comes number two. There we go. They were a pain. I got there, made harder by me trying to float it on the camera for you, and the fact that it's not just a pistol grip. Not that I'm complaining. So wiggle those in there. Wiggle those in there. Ah, no. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to compress those wires at any point between the gearbox and the pistol grip. And I apologise that I'm off camera. There is literally nothing you are missing right now. This is very unglamorous. I apologise if you can also hear my stomach growling as well. So, one, get in there. Pop that open again. Just, there we go. There we go. Now we're running. So, what we've done is made sure that I'm on safe in there, more or less. Selectors on safe because that's where they were all at. I'm making sure that this wire comes up into this gap here, out the back of the gearbox. And now I've got safe, I've got auto, semi, and I've got auto. I'm just looking down the side there. I can see that the selector is moving correctly. So very quickly, to make sure it stays in place, I'm going to drop the trigger pin back in, just making sure that I can see down through the gap. Just gently tap that back in. We'll flip this back over and we are ready to bring our motor in. Okay, slight interruption there. I've literally just been on my dinner. The pizza came, so you know, I am led as a man, I am led by my belly. So we're ready then to put the motor in. We've got the wires pulled out the way, so we're just going to bring that motor in. The black stayed up the front, the red went up the back and stayed up the back. So we're just going to bring that in. Red terminal to the back. Sometimes on motors they might have a little plus engraved into the plastic there, so just obviously look for what is your indicator on your motor. What I'm looking for is that it should be freely springy like that. I shouldn't have to force or push anything. It should just be nice and loose. Again, going back to that generic comment, it's not a bad thing. Like, everything is so well, sort of nice tolerances that nothing's overly difficult, just smooth and easy. Just like, why can't everybody be like this? And then we're just going to push that down a little bit, and this, as you can hopefully see there, this motor sort of notch here is going to sit in this bit here. This is our motor adjustment screw. Lift and then we're just going to literally compress it down. That clicks into place, and that's it. Our motor is back in. Like, oh, Pheas, dear Lord. Go on, what have I forgot? The eagle-eyed amongst you will realise and go, Pheas, you forgot to put the piston grip screws in. Yeah, I have. That's what happens when you go and eat far too many slices of pizza before middle of a video. So we'll get those in now. It was good pizza though. It was really good pizza. And if you are really interested, barbecue chicken and like a, I can't remember, like a chicken supreme. It's like chicken, onions, mushroom. It was good. And then some garlic bread. You can't not have cheesy garlic bread, can you? It's like an essential. And I am carved up now for my day's airsoft tomorrow. Boom. Carved off my eyeballs, actually. Whoa. And there we go. Now we can bring the motor back in. Red to the back. One wire, boom. Two wires, boom. Drop that into there, click that into position. Now we're ready. So the last bits then to do is we're just going to make sure that the hop stays, so it springs in like that. This whole thing is just going to literally slide, and as I'm going to look down the mag well there, just oops, a daisy. Oh, it even pops out like that. See, does it? No, it does need to. So it doesn't slide in at the back. It catches. It pops in there. So we're going to push it in, so it just pulls out like that. We're just going to pop it in. Famous last words. I'm making sure that the hop unit sits up against the front of the gearbox. I can see the air nozzle, and I'm going to push, because we're pushing against that barrel spring. We're going to bring that body pin back in. I should be able to, it says, tap that in. That's back in. Feed our battery connector back into there. Bring our, I keep wanting to call it 1913 mount, our 1913 mount. Forget where I've put the Torx T10. It's definitely not that one. It was in the wrong place. Tighten that screw down. And there we have it. We have done a disassembly to help you with your repairs and maintenance of this Delta Armory's Grand Power Stribog SP10A3 SMG. I hope you've enjoyed that. Beautifully well constructed, really good design choices, just made it a dream to take apart and work on. Like, you couldn't have asked for any better, really. So well done to the guys at Delta Armory on that one, and please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.